Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace. What up? What's going on? We're not going to start the live stream just yet. I just wanted to hop on a little bit early. I wanted to say thank you to everybody who's supporting my book, Easy, A Guide to Mindfulness and Meditation. It's a book I wrote for children 8 to 12, but it's written not for children to take the meditation journey alone. It's written for children to take that journey along with us as adults. So it's great for parents to share with their children. It's great for teachers to share in the classroom. It's great for people who want to run after school programs, people in facilities where children need a little extra support. We got you covered. And make sure you grab your copy from www.devinmccrory.com, DEVINMCCROREY.com. And for everybody who bought a copy, thank y'all so much for the support, peace, and love. Let me throw these headphones on. We're going to get started in a few minutes. This is going to be fun. Just give me a second to turn on my Insight Timer live stream, and then we can go in. I'm just waiting for everybody to join in. Anybody who watches this, I hope the universe finds you blessed, finds you happy, finds you joyous, finds you getting everything that you need to not only sustain yourself, but to thrive and go further. Peace and blessings to everybody. In like 1 minute, I'm going to hop on the Insight Timer live stream, so just bear with me. So I wanted to hop on a little bit early. Thank everybody out there who bought copies of the book. If you have bought a copy of the book, shoot me a DM or shoot me an email, shoot me a message. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how you think it could be useful. Let me know if you found it beneficial in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, and just rock with me. Give me 1 second. I'm going to hop on Insight Timer in a minute. Well, yeah, we got a good one planned for tonight. For everybody who's watching, just give me a second to turn on Insight Timer. 15 more seconds, and my live stream can start. We're about to begin. 2, 1. All right, here we go. All right. Insight Timer. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings to everybody who's out there. Peace and blessings to all the riders on the storm. Peace and blessings. Everybody who's on that journey. All the seekers. All the inquirers. All the warriors. All the light bringers. The ones with the knowledge. The ones with the righteous knowledge. Come on in. Let's see who's on Insight Timer. Peace and blessings. Who's on the live stream? Me, Insight Timer. I'm live on Instagram, live on Insight Timer, live on YouTube. Peace and blessings to all. Love, peace, and blessings to all. We'll begin in a couple of minutes. Just give everybody a moment to pile in. Whoever's present, just let me know you're here. Let me know what's good. Let me know that you're well. Audrey, how are you? Come on in. Who else we got in here? Who else we got? Who on Instagram? Who's up? Who's up at 11:11? That's the hour the portal's open. Come on in, y'all. Come on in, y'all. We'll begin at about the 7-minute mark. I know on my other platforms, I've been on here for a little bit. already. When Insight Timer hits the 7-minute mark, I will usually begin. Audrey, how you doing tonight? Lois, it's 5 p.m. in Kauai, Hawaii. Okay. All right. Lois, how are you tonight? I'm doing pretty good. I doing great, Lois. Glad to hear that. All right, cool, awesome. I feel tired. I was cooking earlier. I cooked a bunch of food. I decided to grill. To grill. Harsh, how you doing? Am I saying your name correctly, Harsh? Am I saying it right, or is there a different pronunciation? Doing great. Okay, excellent. Yeah, I decided to do a lot of cooking. I did some grilling for my sons. Cooked a bunch of food, and then I made some vegetarian food for me. I tried this new dish I just created on the spot. Stir fried peppers, onions, two different kinds of onions, two different kinds of peppers, big fat thick mushrooms, some a little bit of spaghetti sauce, some sweet and sour barbecue sauce, some spices, some fajita seasoning. Put it all together. Had this really good sauce and then poured it over some white rice. It's good. I'm getting a little more confident as a chef. For years I thought I couldn't cook. I cook pretty good. If I can impress me, I must be decent. Kelly, how are you? Peace and blessings to everybody who's here tonight. Thank y'all for coming. We're gonna begin in a few minutes. We got an interesting one tonight. Lois, you hungry? Jay, that sounds amazing. It was. It was actually pretty good. It was actually pretty good. I didn't overseason it. I didn't underseason it. You know when you can come over? Yeah, I should get that recipe. I should get that recipe and start a restaurant or something. That'd be dope. Where's everybody at? I saw Lois is in Kauai, Hawaii. Jay, where are you calling from? Seattle, okay. Seattle, birthplace of grunge. Jay, you're in Oregon? Okay. Awesome. Is it still hot in Oregon or is it cooling down a little bit? It's cooling down a lot over here. I'm in Maryland. It's like getting cool kind of quick. When the sun goes down, I need like a little jacket. Minnesota, Rita, what's up? Oh, good morning from India. Okay, Harsh. I'm glad you're here. I love it when we get people from all over the world. I think that's like the coolest thing in the world. That is so cool. I really like that. All right, we're about 5 minutes in. A couple more minutes, we'll get started. Couple more minutes, we'll get started. Toronto. All right. Our northern neighbor, Canada. New Zealand. Okay. New Zealand. Wow. I think we've had people from New Zealand here before, but I've never been there though. But I hear it's amazing. All right, we're getting close to that 6-minute mark. Okay, so first of all, yeah, you guys gotta forgive me. I'm a little tired tonight. I don't know why I can't shake this fatigue. Usually I would have a little more pep in my step, but it's been kind of a long day. Running around after my sons and cooking and all that stuff. I'm a little tired. But I'm gonna do my absolute best to bring positive energy out to everybody. Peace and blessings to you guys for showing up. I'm glad you're here with me. I think this is gonna be a really good one. Because a lot of things just fell out of the sky all of a sudden. And when I find out new things, the first thing I do is start thinking about how I could bring these things to you guys. So this is like one of those things. I was looking for something else, came across some of this information, and it connected to something that I heard from someone else, and then it all kind of just came together. It ain't me. I always say it's not me, it's the ancestors. It's the ancestors talking. It's always the ancestors. It ain't me. All right, we at the 7-minute mark on Insight Timer. So let's get started. So today the theme is, or the title is, seeing things as they are. And what did I mean by that? Well, I mean, essentially, so many of us have a difficult time seeing things as they are. You know, we have a difficult time looking out into the world around us and recognizing what's real and what's not. And a part of that is on purpose. I think a lot of people like to manipulate the masses and try to convince us that they are the lords of reality. If they can keep us confused, if they can keep us from coming in contact with real experiences, then they can keep us from rebelling. And when I say rebelling, I don't necessarily mean a big coup, an insurrection, but rebelling could mean just thinking for yourself and saying no when everybody else is saying yes, and going your own way when everybody else is going the way of the masses. And I think that in order to keep everybody together, in order to corral all this energy, all this consciousness, all this raw power, it's going to take a tremendous amount of delusion. You can't keep everybody in line if everybody has the power to see things as they are. You can't control people who have been taught to think for themselves and taught to connect with the true source of all things, the ultimate reality. And most people, period, can't handle that experience. I mean, how many times have we heard something that was true, it was real, and we were devastated? We couldn't handle what was real. We couldn't handle what was true. So what I want to talk to y'all about tonight is something that I learned and I came across it by accident. It's a philosophy called consciousness only, right? The consciousness only movement is a part of the Yogacara school of Buddhism, which is a branch of the Mahayana, Buddhism. And Yogacara also has a real big impact in East Asia. So I think like China, Japan, right? That's where it really got developed. But initially, Yogacara was developed by two brothers, one named Vasubandhu and one named Asanga. Now, if I'm saying it wrong, forgive me. I'm trying my best. But these two brothers are the ones who developed this consciousness only sort of Buddhist philosophy. Now, what is consciousness only? Consciousness only is this. It's the philosophy that nothing exists but consciousness. Right now, anybody who's been following these live streams with me, you know, I've kind of had similar ideas and similar thoughts in other live streams that I've done. Like, for instance, Ibn Arabi, he teaches that Allah is the only existence. Allah is the only thing that's real. Well, Yogacara kind of takes the idea of a God out of it and says the only thing that's real is here, your consciousness. And what you do is your consciousness pretty much just projects outward, constantly creating the illusion of three-dimensional reality. But it's a virtual reality. It's not real. And the philosophy teaches that you'll never come in contact with true reality because consciousness plays so big of a role in the reality that we live in that it's all an illusion. None of it's real. We can never truly come into contact with reality without coming first and foremost into contact with consciousness, which is the ultimate reality. And everything else is just illusory. It's completely fake. That's consciousness only. Consciousnness only teaches us that we are basically just in a constant state of projection. Now, when I was a little kid in school, I'm probably dating myself a little bit, we would have these classes where somebody was talking about a really important topic, talking about something in science, talking about something in politics. They would bring out this projector, which was a little device, and it would shoot out the image onto a big projector screen, right? And you would see these images almost like a big movie screen, but the projector is way bigger than TVs were back then. Right? And so that's our reality, right? Consciousness is the projector, right? And then the projection is going on three-dimensional space. And we're making it up. It's not real. None of it's real, is what consciousness only teaches. So everything that you see outside of you is merely just a projection of your consciousness. Now, in this school of Buddhism, they don't teach that consciousness is attributeless and timeless and formless and shapeless and transcendent. They actually teach that consciousness can be affected by our karma, right? From past lives, we inherit these, what they call seeds of karma. And these seeds of karma are planted into our bodies, planted into our consciousness, and they affect how we see the world, affect how we see life. So we end up in a situation where the things that happen to us in our past lives affect how we see our current present life. And everything that we're seeing in front of us is fake. It's not real, right? right? It's not real. It's all completely illusory, right? And that's what they're teaching in yoga kara, consciousness only. That everything from back then is affecting us now, and that everything around us is fake, right? I think that's a very interesting idea. Now, I want to ask one simple question. I've studied a lot of philosophies. A lot of them contradict, a lot of them clash. There's a lot of commonality, but there's a lot of small details where things don't match up. Things don't add up. So we have to sometimes ask this question. Is this true? Is this real? Is it real that consciousness is the only thing that truly exists and our whole idea of what's reality is false? Of course it's true. Now, it may not be true in the sense that they're teaching Buddhism that your consciousness transmigrates from one body to the next. I personally believe in that to an extent, but for other people that might be too spooky. That might not be clear enough. It might not be scientific enough. And if you don't believe it, that's absolutely fine. But in a sense, it's very true. How do we know it's true? Because that's how life works. Real life, three-dimensional life here. That's how it works. Everything that happens to us in the past, right, creates karma in Buddhism. And everything we do creates karma in Buddhism, right? What if we replace the word karma with trauma? Now we're on to something. Now we're on to a whole different. Now it becomes a little bit more real because everything that happens to us in the past, all of that karma that we built up, it sinks into our consciousness and creates our bodies and creates our lives and creates our circumstances. The same thing with trauma. Instead of saying karma, say trauma. And all that trauma from the past, what happens? It sinks into us and it plants seeds. But instead of planting seeds in your consciousness, it plants seeds in your central nervous system, which is an instrument of consciousness that helps us to navigate through three-dimensional space. And all that trauma accumulates within us. It builds up in us. And what happens is that it creates a false sense of what's real. And anybody who suffered from depression, you know what I'm talking about. You suffer from anxiety, you know what I'm talking about. You have been afraid of something that wasn't even there, or wasn't even real, you know what I'm talking about. You know what it feels like to have that sense of something about to happen, even though you're sitting in a room alone, you're completely safe. You know that sense of anxiety that comes over you when your heart starts beating rapidly and you think you're going to die, but you're totally safe. What happened to you in the past, karma, has affected your consciousness, replaced consciousness with central nervous system. It's affected your body, changed your body, and now you've quote unquote reincarnated into a state where you are living the life that you're living, but you can't perceive reality. You can't see true reality because your trauma or your karma is blocking you. You've created this swirling nexus of negative energy because of the trauma that you've experienced and the pain that you're still carrying within you. And a lot of people I've worked with individuals for years. For over a decade, I've worked with individuals who've had mental health issues, behavioral issues, trauma, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, you name it. And so many of them get to the point where they can't see beyond it. That depression becomes their reality. That's the only thing that's real. And you can try to tell them, hey, listen, all the stuff that happened to you in the past doesn't have to affect you now. You can make changes, but all they can see is a swirling nexus of pain. Thank you, Jade. Because what happened to them in the past is keeping them locked in this three-dimensional virtual reality. And that has happened to all of us to some extent. But it happened to some people to the extent where they feel like they can't escape. And it feels real. I've said before, it feels real because when an experience happens in your mind, your body has a reaction. So when your body has a reaction, that makes it feel real. So you might think a depressing thought. All of a sudden, your body is pumped with neurochemicals. And then all of a sudden, you got cortisol, you have, adrenaline, you have all these chemicals that make you feel a sense of dread and fear and drain you. And because these feelings are not just abstract emotions floating around in the sky, these feelings are in your body. So it becomes real. It feels real. And your brain and your body create this false sense of reality. This consciousness only, you can reduce it down to central nervous system only. We can start with that. Because these terms, consciousness, it can be kind of vague. It can be kind of overwhelming to think in terms of consciousness. Okay, let's think in terms of something solid and concrete for those who need it. Let's start with that. Instead of calling it consciousness only, let's call the central nervous system only, and understand how your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems work. And once you can retrain your body through mindfulness and meditation, you can begin the process of seeing things how they truly are. And I'm not going to sit here and preach and say it's easy, it's simple, you should stop seeing that. No, people can't help it. The illusion is so powerful. The pain is so powerful. The fear is so powerful that just trying to see the reality beyond the fear becomes frightening, because you got to sit with the fear to overcome it. And the fear is so intense, you would rather just run from it, self-medicate, have a drink, smoke some weed. It's easier to do that than it is to actually sit with the pain and battle that pain and confront that pain and deal with that pain. Sometimes it's easier to sit in the illusion. That's why so many people are easily led. It's easier. Somebody gives you an illusion, it's hard to fight the illusion. They killed the prophets. Keep in mind, individuals have killed prophets. People who try to shatter the illusion get murdered. People who try to ask political questions get incarcerated. Imagine how many wise, intelligent people have been decapitated by guillotines and imprisoned, starved to death, beaten, whipped. Well, the same thing is happening within you. When you try to overcome the illusion and question your own training, quite often we punish ourselves. And we punish ourselves using the central nervous system as the weapon. Our bodies will indulge in a tremendous amount of effort to keep us locked in and boxed in our perceptions of reality. It's hard to go beyond that. It's hard to see past what your body is telling you is real. It's hard to see past what your mind is telling you is real. And I think that's something else that we got to address. I might have to do a live stream on that as well. How the mind and the body are just one entity. They're not really separate. Mind, body, heart, it's all the same. In ancient Kemet, they taught that these were the 5 parts of the soul. The soul had an anatomy. Yeah. Your central nervous system wants you to move on and let it go, but it's difficult. One moment at a time, exactly. Self-acceptance and compassion, exactly. And it's difficult to retrain the central nervous system because it's so powerful and it controls every aspect of our lives. So it's like almost to an extent kind of battling with, it's kind of like battling with a minor god. Trying to go against your own central nervous system is kind of like battling a minor god. It controls every part of your life. It controls your life itself. You depend on your central nervous system to keep your heart beating and to help you see what's going on around you. It's hard. It's difficult. But it can be done. It can be done when you realize that you have created a physical virtual reality. Virtual reality is not just holograms. Virtual reality exists in your body. We got to remember, virtual reality exists within our own bodies. So that's why it's so easy to get caught up in these things that are not real. When someone hurts your pride, it creates a reaction in your body that makes you want to get violent and aggressive. And you feel like you can justify it in your thoughts. You want to yell at them. You want to scream at them. You create these reasons why you have to hate them. Or if somebody makes you feel insecure, you feel like you're being physically attacked. So you create these, you feel it in your body, the dread, the fear, the tension. And then we create this, we got this weird phrase we use when we say, I got a weird feeling about that guy. I don't like that guy. I got a bad gut feeling. And sometimes, yeah, your instincts, your intuition does kick in, but sometimes it's just your body lying to you. Your body is telling you that this is a bad person when really it's not. It's somebody who's they just trigger you. Maybe because they're so confident and you're not. Maybe because they take such good care of themselves and you don't. Maybe it's because they're so disciplined and you're not. But we create this false sense of reality that this other person has to be attacked and destroyed. Or we have to stay away from them and shun them. That's virtual reality too. So your body is a vessel for virtual reality. Your body has become a virtual reality. Your emotions become a virtual reality. Your thoughts become virtual reality. It's hard to break out of that, right? It's hard to break out of that. When all the aspects of who you are, all the dimensions of your awareness have created a fake reality that we lose ourselves in. And sometimes you can break free and then get sucked right back into the virtual reality too. You know, when I was on my journey trying to gain knowledge of who I was, there will be moments where I felt like I'm finally free of the trauma, free of the depression, and then something will happen and things will turn left, and I'm right back to being a raving lunatic again. Right? You think you're free, but then you realize you built another more comfortable prison. Or you realize you've opened the door, but you haven't fully stepped out yet. So how do you break free? How do we break free of the illusion? Well, let's ask this one question. Is there a reality outside of consciousness? And this is one of those questions where we're getting so philosophical now, it's hard to even answer it. Think about it for a second. I mean, and that's where I'm going, Joe. That's where I'm going. I'm going into that part right now. How do you know you've broken free? That's a great question. That's right where I'm going. So what I was saying was, is there a reality outside of consciousness? Well, I think another question is, how can we find it if it is there? Sometimes you got to reverse engineer these questions and look a little bit deeper. If there is a reality outside of our consciousness, outside of our trauma, outside of our illusions, right? If there's something that transcends that, how do we get there? And what is it? Right? So I think it's important for us to ask ourselves if it's our pain and our trauma that's projecting out into the world, and our illusions projecting out into the world, and our pain projecting out into the world, right? Then, you know, Osho, who was the central character in that film Wild Wild Country. I saw a quote from him that I thought was really perfect. He said, "You can't see what reality is." He said, "You can't see what reality is until you have nothing to project." You know, in Hinduism and Buddhism, when they talk about completely giving up the ego, completely giving up who you think you are, then you can look at reality and see things as it truly is. And what do I mean by that? Do I mean that you have to become a zombie and not think thoughts? Not at all. I think the universe has made all of us kind of special. Even people who are enlightened, they have their own way of talking. They all have a unique personality. They look different. They might have different perceptions of the way the universe is, right? But at the same time, they freed themselves from their old identity. They've changed who they are. When you think about, and a lot of times people don't talk about it too much, and I don't want to go too much into it, but a lot of times when people talk about the path to enlightenment, you know what it really is? It's just a form of controlled trauma. When they use the term sadhana, what's a sadhana? Sadhana is something that you do to shock the system, to shock the central nervous system so that you won't get caught in this trap anymore. When you see these monks sitting under freezing cold waterfalls in the middle of winter, and they refuse to move and they sit there for 8-9 hours meditating, that's a shock to the system. It's a controlled form of trauma. So that way, the trauma that they already have in their bodies, they can see past it and beyond it because they shock themselves out of it. And I'm not saying you're going to do anything of that nature, but what I'm saying is you have to learn how to shock the central nervous system, heal the central nervous system. But also that begins in many ways by looking at who you are, finding out who you are, and changing who you are. By changing your habits, you begin the process of healing. Changing how you think, you begin the process of healing, becoming more self-aware, becoming more mindful of the reality you are aware of. And then you won't get caught up in it. You won't get trapped, and then you'll be able to see a little bit past it. Maybe you won't see the whole universe laid out in front of you, understand the mysteries of the cosmos, but at least you can see past your trauma. So, like I said in one of my last live streams, renunciation. Tribal Chief Lowe's, peace, my brother. Let's start with renunciation. You want to heal. What are you going to give up? Yeah, I got a hoodie on. Yeah, it was freezing cold in here. I was about to wear my dashiki. It was too cold for all that. I threw the hoodie on, my brother. Yeah, well, like I was saying, what are you going to give up? Your habits are embedded in your central nervous system too. So one way to start beginning the process of altering the central nervous system's patterns is to change the patterns of your behavior. You get upset, you get angry, you reach for a bottle. I went through that phase when I was younger. I get upset, I get depressed, I get lonely. Time to crack open the bed. I get upset, I get depressed, I get lonely. Okay, let me take this shot real quick. Let me smoke a little herb real quick. Now I feel better. But when I stopped doing that, I stopped doing that for a super long time. All of a sudden, my central nervous system began to change. I began to see things a little bit differently. And ultimately, I had to sit with the pain instead of me blocking out the pain and ignoring the pain. Because when you block out the pain and you ignore the pain, you know what happens? It accumulates. Like snow. Imagine it's snowing outside, right? And in Connecticut, where I'm from, sometimes you'll have a week where it snow like 3-4 times. So imagine you got a week where it snows on Sunday. You don't move the snow. Don't shovel the snow. Then it snows again on Wednesday. You don't shovel the snow. By Friday, you're not going to be able to pull out of your driveway at all or drive down the street at all. It accumulated too much. Same thing with your pain. So it becomes imperative for you to change your identity. No, it's not based on our convo. This is something else I was thinking about for a long time. You know, my brain stay working, bro. It wants to have a conversation with its host. Indeed. So what we end up doing is we have to begin changing ourselves, right? So we can change the mini God of the central nervous system within. By making those changes, by renunciation, by being more aware of our present reality. We might not be able to see the outside reality yet, but at least be more aware of the present reality that you're creating and projecting. Be aware of your own thoughts that are creating that reality. And then once you begin that process, you'll start to slowly but surely see things as they truly are. And quite often, when you see things as they truly are, guess what happens? Fear goes away. Fear of truth goes away. Because a lot of us have a fear of truth. Truth is feared in our culture. Like I was just telling y'all, they killed the prophets. They will kill somebody for speaking truth. And what does that do to us psychologically, emotionally, physically? Thank you for the donation, Louis. What does that do to us? We live in a culture where people fear truth. You know what happens to us? What's happening to us now? You look at the statistics and you'll notice that people are becoming more and more anxious. More and more people are dealing with depression. More and more people are dealing with suicidal ideation. Instead of our culture, and we have a culture that people say is thriving economically and one of the richest cultures in the world and one of the most, freest cultures in the world, and people are still dissatisfied. Lying is the greatest and most powerful good of all time. I think that lying is probably one of the most destructive mechanisms that human beings have ever created. What I believe is that if people can see things as they truly are, it will bring an end to so much of the conflict in the world. We have all this conflict in the world because we live in a world that is afraid of truth. People can't handle the truth. People can't handle the idea that what they've been raised to believe from childhood may be wrong. But when you learn to see reality as it truly is, we let go of all of these ideas. Once again, we go back to the concept of releasing your identity. Release your identity, because sometimes you're going to question your own beliefs. I went through that period too. You got to question your beliefs. Every few years, I'll go through a period where I start really questioning my beliefs. God, Rita? Oh, you meant to say God? Yes, I agree. So what happens is, once you begin to change your habits, become more self-aware, become more focused on renunciation as opposed to being consumed, being obsessed with consumption, that begins to change you too. But ultimately, you can't see true reality. You can't see things as they truly are if you are afraid to let go of your beliefs. The reality that you're looking at is based on your beliefs. What you think is possible is based on your beliefs. What you think other people are thinking about you is based on your beliefs. So if you want to change your perception of reality, you're going to have to change your beliefs. But we hold on to our beliefs. Our whole identity is shaped around two things: beliefs and trauma. How do you deal with people rejecting the truth, even when it's your family ignoring your words? You can't completely get rid of them. Well, no, you don't have to. But you got to understand that in many instances, understand that their journey is just not yours. And the thing that I had to do was I felt like I'm dead. I feel like I have a purpose to speak truth and open up people's minds. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, understand that your responsibility is you first and foremost. You must get right within yourself. You got to build yourself up. You have to empower yourself and you have to enlighten yourself. And what happens quite often, people who denied your words in the past, who thought you were lying in the past, who thought you were being nefarious or whatever in the past, they'll start to follow your example. Because a lot of people don't follow words, they follow examples. So if you could provide them with an example of righteousness, just be strong within yourself, focus on what you need, and focus on trying to see the real reality. And their lies and their deceptions, that's something you have to deal with. But once again, that's just a projection upon reality. You don't have to deal with their false reality. That's another part of your identity. Your family is a major part of who you think you are. You think you have to deal with their stuff, and you don't. You think you have to deal with your friends you've grown up with, friends you were close with when you were young. You don't have to necessarily deal with their crap. But it's all about empowering you. Jack Nicholson. Yep. Few Good Men. Yep. As soon as I said it, I thought about that movie. I always try to avoid saying that line. You can't handle the truth. I try to avoid saying it because then I start thinking about that movie. But yeah, your responsibility is you. Your mission is you. Your guide is going to have to be you. And if you focus your energy on continuing to empower yourself, it might not change their minds. It might not change their perception of reality. But you know what? It'll change yours. It'll change your perception of reality. And sometimes there's and that's one lesson I had to learn the hard way. Sometimes there's nothing you could do. I used to work with kids who were in gangs, kids who were running around with guns, kids who had all kinds of stuff going on in their personal lives. And you try to teach. And I would bring books to them and I would try to teach them about history and try to teach them about psychology and self-love and empowerment and tapping into the God within themselves. And they die. I've worked with kids who got shot and killed in the streets. And I'm one of those individuals when I had those jobs where I was working with youth in the community, I go hard for these kids. You know what I mean? I would spend hours talking to them. I was trying to empower them. Coming to work every single day, happy to see them, giving them hugs. They're giving me hugs. The respect is there. It's powerful. Then they leave. Then after they leave, you see them on the news. So-and-so got popped in the head. And that will get to you until you realize that sometimes there's nothing you can do except for what you're meant to do. If you are a farmer, right? You might be a farmer who plants the seeds. Then somebody else cuts the weeds out. Then somebody else harvests the crop. Then somebody else has to take the rotten crop and toss it to the side, and somebody else takes the good crop. Everybody has their role. Everybody has their role. But ultimately, at the end of the day, guess what? Despite what we think and what we feel, people have a right to decide what their role is going to be. You're in Albania. Oh, wow. All the way from Albania. I love it. I love that everybody's from all over the world and all over this country. But yeah, sometimes you got to empower yourself because you could totally drain the power that you're developing by focusing too much energy on trying to change other people. Exactly, Rita. We're not here to make everyone believe. We're here to make them think. Exactly. And you might be the gardener who plants the seed. Imagine you trying to grow a tree. Me and my son, we planted an avocado seed in the backyard. And this morning we were in the backyard playing, and he looks at me, he said, "Where's my avocado tree?" We might, we might move from here before that avocado tree even pokes out of the ground. It might be somebody else who might move into this house after we're gone. They might say, "Oh, wow, look, this house has an avocado tree. That's awesome." We might never see that avocado tree. Same thing with you. You might plant that seed, and then you might move on and move out of those people's lives, and then before you know it, somebody else might come along and add a little water onto that seed, and the seed will blossom. And you might not see that. There's plenty of kids out planting seeds in them, and then sometimes I hear years down the line, oh yeah, so-and-so's doing really good. I'm like, oh, good. I planted that seed. I can take a little bit of pride in that, even though I try not to, but I planted that seed. Somebody else watered it. Somebody else nurtured it. Some other circumstances happened and they got blessed. And now they're growing up, and you got to appreciate your role. Or so, in some cases, you might not be able to do anything. Movie, thank you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Something else that we can do to see things as they truly are. Conquer fear. Conquer your fear. Conquer your fear and conquer your fear of truth. I think now that I think about it, I think all fear comes from a fear of truth. All fear may come from a fear of truth. If you see a lion coming towards you, you'll be afraid because you know you're gonna die, or it's possible you might die. But the idea that you that you think you're gonna live anyway, that's a fear of truth. All of us are gonna die anyway. What are we afraid of death for anyway? Fear of truth, a fear of the reality of death. So we create all these stories and all these ideas, and we become so attached to life. And I believe in self-preservation, but at the same time, I don't feel fear no more, because I understand that inevitably I'm going to die anyhow. All fear is fear of truth. But once you are able to see the truth and look the truth dead in the eye, you realize there's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing. You accept things as they truly are. And that pushes you forward in the process of seeing our true reality. And I kind of believe that anyway. I kind of believe in consciousness only anyway. Years ago, I came to the realization that the human skull, the human brain never sees light. You know that? Human brain never sees light. Your brain is trapped in this airtight, water-sealed skull of yours. Nothing can get in, nothing can get out, right? Your brain never sees light at all, but you have these sense organs that send signals to the brain, but really your brain is just trying to figure out what's happening around you anyway. And as the brain is trying to figure out what's happening in this swirling soup of energy, you're creating this room. We don't know. You don't really know what this room looks like. Deepak Chopra had a book, I think it was called The Book of Secrets, where he was talking about how in different cultures, they literally physically see things differently based upon their beliefs. So in some cultures, people would look up at the sky and they believe that certain kinds of birds had long, colorful tails. Now, because I'm not from that culture, I'll look up and I'll just see a bird with no tail. But in other cultures, they see the tail because of how, because of their beliefs, and they project that onto reality. When I was in school, I found something very interesting that was talking about it was talking about cultural sensitivity in psychology, and how different people from different cultures would define insanity in different ways. If you're talking to somebody who's like a American Westerner, if they came to you and said, I went outside this morning and saw my grandmother, she's been dead for 5 years, you say, oh my God, you're hallucinating, you're crazy. But if you're talking to somebody who's Native American and they say, well, I went outside and I saw, birds, and I think my father visited me in the form of those birds, well, because of his culture, that's his perception of reality. If you're talking to somebody who's from certain parts of Africa, they say, I went to my front yard and I saw my grandmother sitting in my front yard, eating fruit in the front yard underneath her favorite tree. That makes perfect sense in that culture. What we can see, what we can hear is based upon our perceptions of reality and our ideas in our culture, which is pretty cool. But now the time has come when we understand this and we can utilize this to empower ourselves, right? Because you can only really find out what's truth about reality. And this is just coming to me now. You can only find out what's true about reality by testing reality. A neuroscientist on IT said fear, nervousness, and excitement butterflies are the same on a central nervous system level. But it's our present beliefs or past memories. That's amazing. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that quote to me. Yeah, exactly. And like I was saying, you can only really find out what's real and by testing reality. So if your beliefs about something can alter your perception of reality and thus alter your reality, let's push it to the limit. Let's push it to the limit. Let's just say this. Let's say tonight we make a big decision to test the boundaries of reality. Right? Let's do it right now. Let's start with something small. Think of a goal you want to accomplish, and think of something that you want to do, but you think you can't do it. Whether it be money, whether it be health, curing yourself of an illness, whatever. Let's try anything. Throw all the spaghetti up against the wall and see if it sticks, right? Because this is a test. Let's test reality. And then I want everybody to come back next week and we'll figure out if our perception of reality actually changed our reality for us, right? So this is something I've been struggling with for a while. I want to lose some weight. So I want to say by next week, I want to lose a pound. I probably won't work out, but I want to see if I can lose a pound by next week. And if you guys got anything that you want to change and work on, anything that you want to test the boundaries of reality, go ahead, put it up there. Put it in the chat. Let's see it. You want to buy something, say you need a new computer, you need money for a new computer. Let's see it. Whatever you got. Whatever you want to believe, whatever you want to try to test the boundaries of reality. Let's do it right now. Get rid of the mask on your foot. Okay. Let's believe we can. And let's see what happens. Let's go for it. Let's throw everything up against the wall. Everything. Who else got something they want to see if they can accomplish? Let's test the boundaries of reality. Let's really do it. Who else is in? Joe, thank you. Anybody else in? Anybody else game? Let's try it. Curb your sugar addiction. Jade, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Okay. Let's go for it. You want to lose over 50 pounds, Rita? Okay. Then let's start with that. Let's see if you can lose some pounds. You want to drop some pounds, LaJoya? Okay. Or am I saying your name right? Is it LaJoy? So lose some weight. Let's put it in our minds. Joanna, you want to leave Albania? Okay. Let's put it out there. Throw it up against the wall, see if it sticks. And ultimately, in the core of your being, I want you to understand that since our perception of reality is what creates our reality, let's change our perception. Let's test it. Play the lottery and win enough to rebuild Pop's deck for safety issues? Okay. Okay. Put your faith in it. In the core of your being, believe that it's going to happen. Let's try it. Rita, anything. Why not? Put it out there, anything. It could be something small because we're doing an experiment, or you can go big off rip. Mine was small. Losing a pound by next week, mine was kind of small. It's an experiment. I'm going to start small. But if you want to go big, go big. You know, where I'm from, they used to have a saying that they would have on hip hop mixtapes. They'd be like, "Go hard or go home." Whatever y'all can think of. You want to be a divine goddess? Well, you already won. You are a divine goddess. Divinity's already in you, so you're good to go. The divinity is already there. You just got to recognize it. You want to get your podcast going and find someone who can help me for free because they want to go along for the ride? Okay, put it out in the universe. La Jui. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Put it out there. Put it all out there. We're going to test the boundaries of reality. Why not? That's how we're going to find out what's real and what's not real. And by being afraid to test, receive a job offer to match your goals, part of letting go of the past identity that was limiting growth. Okay, great. Put it out there. You want to become more aware of your surroundings and help your family? Okay. Put it out there. How do you want to help your family? What do you feel like your family needs that you can provide? Or is it just kind of a general thing? General thing. Okay. Where am I from? I'm from Hartford, Connecticut, in the U.S. Came up during a very interesting time. You want to make an important phone call you've been putting off? Go for it. Put it out there. Put it out there and make it happen. Change your perception, change your reality. Hartford is still a tough neighborhood. Yeah, I mean, I moved away from there. I'm in Maryland now. It's still tough there. But, you know, I think that's part of my mission to help people there change their perception too. So I'm trying to do some things. Now that I'm in Maryland, I'm trying to do some things as far as teaching in my business and everything. But I really want to go back there and do some stuff too. I still have people up there who are trying to help the community. There's a real cool brother I know up there who's leading marches, trying to bring peace to the community. Pretty much everybody I know up there is trying to do something positive for the community. It was bad 30 years ago. Yeah, it kind of calmed down a little bit, and it's getting kind of bad again. Yeah, but I remember, like, I grew up in Hartford in the 80s, so I was a kid. But one day I went back and I was reading the crime stats. It was crazy in the 80s. You're in Virginia. What's my circle? You know, it's been so long since I've been on my circle. I forgot the name. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll tell you guys next week. And it is getting a bit late, so let me wrap this up. Let me say to everybody who put something out there in the universe, you put out what you wanted. What year was I born? I was born in 79, December 79. New York in the 80s, Joe? Yeah. But for everybody who puts something out there into the universe, I want you to really change your perception. We're going to test the boundaries of reality and see if we're going to really get what we want. And I really believe that we can do it. But this is an experiment. So make sure you keep track of the experiment. And then when you come back next week, we'll discuss it again. I'll leave some space next week. Or maybe I'll do the whole live stream next week, and we can talk about how things have gone. You know, maybe I'll do like a meditation, and then we'll discuss how things have gone in the week since, you know. See how we gotten closer to those things, how we manifested those things. Because I really want to try it. I'm that kind of person. I'm gung ho. Let's try it. Let's see if we can shatter the boundaries of reality. I'm all for it. But anyhow, I gotta get up early, do some homeschooling with my sons. Rita, I enjoyed y'all. I'm glad y'all here with me. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings to everybody. And yeah, make sure y'all show up here next week. Make sure you guys show up here next week. And yeah, I'll see y'all then. And we'll see how this goes. Thank you, Lajri. Peace and blessings, everybody. Y'all have a good night.